Hey,
Yeah.
hey everybody, this is Aaron.
And Katrina.
Build Ministries. You can check our website out, Build Ministries LV. If you've already checked it out, you're probably not going to see anything new right now. You come over to the Facebook page and the YouTube page, and that's where you see all the happenings and everything that's going on with us. And so today is the 20, no, I'm sorry, it's the 19th of August. Yeah, that's right. School just started. We've been back in for a week. Kids been back in school. Makaria, Jay, they go back to college end of the month. And so, yeah, we're getting back to just a new swing of things. And so, yeah, that's how things are going. How are things with you, sweetie pie, dear of mine?
Dear. Oh, things are fine.
Oh,
Yeah. First week of school, first week of driving, first week of getting back behind the wheel, trying to get everybody where they're supposed to be and make sure nobody is forgotten.
that's right.
That's my whole goal is to make sure at the end of the day that I have four children in the house. And I,
Until some go away.
oh yeah, some going away.
Well, let's get into it. Today's lesson was actually streamed live on Facebook, and so this is just more like a recap of the summer. I'm not going to really go in full, but I will give you all of the main points for that one. And so, I wonder if the sound is working on this thing because I don't see the meter pumping up. But let's keep it going and see. You think we
I
got
don't
sound?
know. That is strange. You do have a green light,
Okay.
and I don't know if we were not close enough.
Oh yeah, it's working. I saw a blip.
Our poor listeners, they're like, "What in the world?" But yeah, so I wanted to tell you about the children.
Okay,
That's what I'm here for today.
how were the children?
I'm here to talk about the kids.
That's the
Always.
kids.
Yeah, it was really good. We had a great turnout today. The we're at the YMCA and we're in a new room because the United Way has now leased out the rooms that we were in.
Change
So
them into daycare, so they put a bunch of
free
kids furniture and
daycare. If
stuff
you're
like that.
interested in
Yeah,
free daycare, look it up. YMCA, Heinrich YMCA is offering free daycare preschool. So,
for 4 and 5 year olds.
yes. Okay. So, anyway, so that's what our room is now, their preschool. So, we're in a different room, and we come in today and we noticed that they had set up a little, like, grocery store kind of thing. Yeah, like a grocery store. And it had the conveyor belt and the little thing where you scan the groceries. It beep and it beeps. The vibe beeps. You can beep everything.
Yeah, like a kids' toy station thing,
Eggs.
not a real one.
Yeah, no, it was a kids in our new kids room. This room. So we come in today because we're going with the kids. Kids.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so in our kids room, I mean, it was like okay. Yesterday we went to John's Incredible Pizza. Which
Yeah.
you don't know. This was better than John's Incredible Pizza. This little
Oh,
station thing. The kids
church.
just
It's
went.
better than
Look,
a pizza joint.
the grocery station.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Still talking about the grocery station because it was some. Even my oldest daughter, who is in college, second year, when she came down and saw it, she got awesome. She starts playing with it and doing. So, I mean, this was like the greatest thing and the worst thing at the same time because how you gonna teach a lesson? How can you compete with this, right? So that was we had to kind of adjust to this new, like it's like having like the greatest toy in the world and trying to do church on Christmas morning. That's what it would be like, which is all this greatness, some toyness around it. But we made it. We did. Today was the last letter of the alphabet, the letter Z, and so the kids have now gone through 26 verses,
26 weeks.
26 verses of Bible verses, and I'm really proud of them. They really know it. Some of them know it and can tell you the next upcoming verse before they even see it. Um, they've done a craft or something that relates to every one of them. So they've really done a lot, and I'm just really proud of them. And then the teens, the lesson today was on the prodigal son, and I was really surprised that for the most part they had never heard of the prodigal son.
Young people in church today
Never heard of it.
who don't know the
Right.
stories of it.
And so I guess I would have. thought that everybody heard it. You know, kind of like how everybody's heard of Adam and Eve kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I would have just kind of glossed over it, or just, and I was like, wow, you know, this is just a good reminder that no, every lesson you need to tell it, you need to teach it, and don't just assume that everybody has heard it, because there's some powerful truths in there. So today we talked about, you know, how the prodigal son asked for his inheritance up front, and then the father, the loving father, even though he sure knew it was going to be a disaster, gave it to him, and of course he wasted it. And so the challenge question today was, what are you wasting? Yeah, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your
Yeah.
talent, are you wasting your education? So then I said, okay, so imagine that each class you go to in school is worth $100. How much money? And before I could even finish the sentence, they were like, oh, $800, easy, you know. So they knew where that question was going. That it's when you're in a class and a teacher gone to school, education is trying to teach you something to make your life better. Don't just sit there and waste that.
That's right.
You can't get that back. I was talking when I was in school, that was, you know, a while ago. A class was $500 a unit for a PE class. $500. Now you made that a history class or English class up to 3, 4 units. That's $1,500, $2,000
Class.
wasting. People are wasting education. They're wasting their time, and so that was the challenge for them. And then of course they always do the memory cards where they have a question and essay, to flip them over and get a match. And so that pretty much teaches and reiterates the lesson
Mhm.
for them. Oh, and also, I don't know if you know this, they are also doing a Bible.com devotional together. So they go online, they log in, and they sign in, and then Princeton sends them a link to the Bible study they're doing. It's called 30 Day Journey with Jesus, and it's a part of the, you know, the Daily Bread. Remember the little book? Okay, so they did like the devotional series, and that's the one that they're working through. So they're on day 8 of that right now. So if your son or daughter or loved child, child of love, grandchild, comes to you and says, I'm supposed to get an email from Princeton Hill, that's what they're talking about. So please go open that email, click on the link, and boom. All right. That's only for like a few people, but just in case you're watching.
Yeah, we probably get more people connected. Like the youth could probably connect their friends if they talk to their friends about
Oh,
the
yeah.
Lord and the Word at school.
It would be great.
And
It would
yeah,
be great to have
that
like,
goes beyond.
yeah, beyond the walls of building.
Right.
Or even it would be nice, like what we're trying to set it up is so as the youth go away to college or something, that they still be a part of the
Yeah.
different Bible study challenges that we have. So I think that's about it.
All right.
Yeah.
So good stuff. That is doing a good job.
Thank you.
That's a lot of good things. Usually you think about children in youth classes, like sit down, here's some books, here's some paper, pencils. If
Yeah.
you can do that far,
Yeah.
just listen to me talk.
Yeah.
That was it.
No.
And so
we try to, you know, really give them something that challenges um, both age groups,
mhm.
you know, both dynamics, and allows them to work together. And my favorite thing though is that they actually bonded together. Like they look for each other. They have a prayer time. They have a thankful time where they pray. It's not us praying. They pray for each other. They name each other. They say what they're thankful for. I mean, it really should. I should videotape them. You would be shocked. What little kids
Yeah,
say.
that should be the broadcast to children.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
That's-
Set up the camera and you can see the
Yeah.
fly on the wall and see what the kids are doing
Right
on a Sunday. But oh, and it just happened that they got a
That
special
could be
treat for
Facebook
today.
Live.
They got a special treat today, so it coincided with them. Today was like the you know 26th day, and then one of our sweet, wonderful, lovely members brought a surprise for them, so they were able to get a little something to take home.
That's good. It's good that we have people in the ministry who are looking out for the people
Yeah,
and the ministries. Like they're not just thinking about me;
no,
they're thinking about all the other people um, that are there. So that's good. And so imagine if we had hundreds and we had that same dynamic. Man, people really breaking their necks to get up in that place because we go to a place where we know we're gonna be loved. Nobody gonna be tripping over.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really So today was a really, I think, a good day to just have everybody together. It's like it ended on a high note.
That's good. Yeah. Speaking about ending on high notes,
Mm.
today's lesson it was the end of the Sermon on the Mount,
Mm.
Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 to 27. And so I gave this one a title. It says, "I know how it ends."
Oh,
You know, when we read the Bible, the people that were in the Bible didn't know the ending for the most part, most of them, you know, as God told them. But they had to go through
okay.
their story and make it to the end themselves if they endure. But because we know how their stories end, and the word, if we just read it, then we would know how our story would end. And it's no matter what happens in the midst of our lives, in between the beginning and the end of our walk with Christ, we know how it ends because it's all in the word. So that's what today is. Let me read these verses and just go through this stuff. Like I said, I'll just kind of, you know, sum it up and everything. I'm like, you see my notes. It's not even a half page.
Yeah. I'm like,
But the message was still like about 40 minutes.
Wow.
You know, because, you know, it's like when you get to a certain point, it's like, man, you got to think about that. And so just have to make the applications in our lives so we can see, oh, that's what it refers to. And so it's good. So when you think about you building a house on the rock versus the sand and what that really is, so it's going to be cool. So check this out. Here we go. We're going to read the scriptures, get into it. Because once you get into this and you hear it, then you can say the same thing. I know how it ends. You're going to know how your story ends. But there is a condition. I'll get to that. All right. So here's what Jesus says. Therefore, this first word, therefore. Whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Now, last week talked about how Jesus kind of twisted and said, not everybody who says unto me, because all the Sermon on the Mount was basically about you and what you should do and how you should be aware of yourself. And then we get to the end and he's talking about himself. It's like, who are you that you're like the most central person in all of this stuff? At the time, you will know what he's talking about. So now he's saying, whoever hears these sayings of mine. In other words, he's saying that there are a whole lot of other scribes and Pharisees. They were out there teaching the law. But then here comes Jesus saying, look, I know there's them, but whoever hears what I'm telling you. And the thing is, he's not talking about people who aren't in the crowd. You have to get that clear. The people that are out there listening, if you hear this and you do this, you are like a wise man. If you hear it and you don't do it, you are like a foolish man. All right, that must be Trenton. I think he wants to do his verse for today. So Trenton's going to come and I think it was Z, right? You got the end. He got to the end of the Z.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to read this. And Luke 6:46 is the same context. Luke 6:46 says this. It says, and why call ye me Lord, Lord, and do not the things which I say? All right. Yeah. So we saw the Lord, Lord part last week. Not everybody who says unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter in to the kingdom, but they will make all these claims, and I'll say, I never knew you. Well, so we got to see how it all mixes up. Here, come on, slide over, come on in. Come on, all the way. Oh, hey, son, there he is. What was your verse for today? Do you remember?
Zion hears and rejoices.
All right, and your letter for today was the letter
Z.
Z. Very good, son. All right, good job, good job. All right, what's supposed to do?
This thing,
Okay. All right, you can go on, son. Go on. Thank you, son. All right, that was Trenton with the letter Z. Zion, rejoice. All right. And so back into the word, I want you to really see. Now, first of all, he says, if you hear these words I'm saying and do them, James 1:22 says that we should be not hearers of the word only, but be doers of the word and not hearers, lest we deceive ourselves. So it's not just enough to hear something that's true if we're not doing anything. Even Romans 2:13 says the same thing about those that hear the law. It's not it, but those that do the law, then those are the ones that are righteous. So it's very important that it's not just enough to, let's say we got people who go to church a lot, right?
Right.
They hear the word, but they don't do what the word says.
Nope.
And so Jesus said,
Mhm.
for the ones that hear and do, you're wise. The ones that hear and don't do, you're foolish. All right, for example, Proverbs 10:8 says this. I'm going to go to Proverbs chapter 10 and read verse 8, and it shows a distinction between a wise person and a foolish person. It says, the wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. Great is a fall of the foolish one who built his house on the sand. And so that's one thing we got to be aware of. And here's the thing that I had the people understand. There are a lot of people who are saying, like when we talk about the false teachers and false prophets are going to come, and a lot of those are saying that, look, when it comes to the word, you're really not going to struggle or things won't be too hard in your life. No, when you really look at the context, if you hear the words and do the words, you're like the man who built his house on a rock. I'm going to make this clear. The rain, the wind, and the floods came. And we look at the house on the sand, the rain, the winds, and the flood came there. And so what you see is it's not about the structure of the building, because both houses could have been structurally sound, but it was a foundation that they were built on that enabled it to stand or to fall. And so it's not just enough to go to church and to look the part because you look like you got your structure and stuff together. You may have the right job, your money's right and everything, but if problems come into your life and you can't hang, and that's what the rain, the floods, and the wind represent. All the stuff that's going to come into your life. But if we're doing what the word says, it does not say if you do what the word says, stuff's not going to happen. It means you do what the word says so that when stuff happens, you won't get knocked over by it.
Right.
I was telling them about how we're holding about maybe $6,000-7,000 worth of debt that we can pay it off in a year. But all of a sudden stuff just went wrong, and all of a sudden we had to add on another $13,000 worth of debt, and so now we got a debt load of $20-some thousand, and it's like, man, that's enough just to cause somebody to stop giving. Because now all of a sudden I got to pay off these bills. So church, I'm sorry, but it's not coming your way. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the tithing part of that. For some people, it's enough to make you look, I'm not going to give you nothing, because now it's going to be a few years before I pay this stuff off. But I bet they still going to be going out to eat. Might even stop going because it's like, I don't even want to go to church if I can't give. And so it's one of those things you got to watch out for. When stuff comes in, stuff is going to happen in lives. But Jesus said, if you hear these words and do them, when the stuff happens, you will not fall. And so it's not about the structure, because there are a whole lot of people in churches, their structure seems great. Until stuff happens, and then it's not about the stuff happens. The foundation is what's key, not the structure, because it said both houses were built, but one was built on a rock, another one was built on the sand. Like when Jesus told Peter, who the man said that? And Peter said, thou art Christ, Son of the living God. Flesh and blood did not reveal that unto you, but the Spirit. And your name is Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And so you build your house upon the rock. Things are going to happen in your life. And that's what we have to really come to grasp with. When Paul says all who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution, it's going to happen. It's how you endure up under the stuff that happens in your life. That is the thing. Look, James 1:12 says this. It says, blessed is the man who endures temptation. You put up with, you bear up under something patiently, endures temptation. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. So Our house is built upon a rock. We're doing what the word says. So when temptation comes, it's not just temptation. It can be temptation. It can be persecution. It can just be the circumstances that come through spiritual warfare or whatever. When anything just comes in our life that just kind of mess up our balance, that's the time when James said it in the first verse in first chapter. Count it all joy when you go through various trials. It's hard to be joyful when we now had to add on $13,000 worth of debt. But you know what God did for us? It's almost like he set things up, prepared something so that he knew the debt was coming. We didn't. But he prepared something so I will enable you to be able to bear this new debt load. Because if my income didn't adjust, that's burial right there. But you know what? If it didn't adjust, count it all joy. But that's just that. I'm not going to get too much into that though right now. But James says this: you're not blessed when everything's great. You're blessed when you endure. Blessed is the man who endures. You get that? And so, if our house is on a rock, we stand on that thing because rocks don't really move. Nothing. When the wind and rains and stuff come, the sand will shift. A rock doesn't shift. And so, if we're on something that doesn't shift, which is the word that doesn't change, then that means that stuff is going to beat us, but I'm still on this rock. And so, when it passes over, we're still on that rock, and it says you're blessed. And not only are you blessed, but there's a promise that you're going to receive. And so when I say that, I know how it ends because the word tells us how it's going to end. How is it going to end? If we endure, we get that promise. And we are blessed when we endure. That's the thing. It's not when we're not going through things. I mean, that's great. But when we go through some things and we can handle it, that's the whole thing. Now, we go to James chapter 5, verse 11, and it's pretty much saying the same thing. So let's look at that. I'll show you James 1 and 12, right? Now we go to James 5, 11, and here's what it says. Behold, we count them happy which endure. And that word, count them happy, they're blessed. Who? The ones that endure. In other words, when you start to go through and you can handle it, and it doesn't mean that it gets easy, because enduring means you're putting up with some stuff. That's not easy. Imagine this: when I ran cross country, it's hot, I'm tired, I'm sweating, but I have to finish the race. So I have to keep running.
Right.
And up hills and whatever and stuff like that, having to go to the bathroom, you name it. But it's like, if I stopped and just sat down, I get nothing if I didn't finish the race. So it says, we count them happy or blessed which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. So we heard about the story of Job, and we saw how that ended. Job didn't know how the story was going to end. We have the benefit and the privilege of knowing how these stories end. And so because we see how those stories end, we can make that application in our life. And so when we're going through, he got that end, we hang just like he did, we're going to get the same end. So we should know how our story is going to end. But it comes through endurance. Don't think that you're never going to go through anything because you get saved. Some stuff will stop, but then other stuff is going to come because the enemy does not want to see you blessed, sanctified, and making it. So they will throw whatever they can in your way to get you just to fall off. And that's what a lot of people miss out on. 1 Peter 3:14 and then 4:14 are pretty much going to say the same thing. 1 Peter 3:14. But if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are you. So if you're suffering for being righteous, you're blessed. You endure temptation, you're blessed. You suffer. I mean, you're putting up with some, just because you want to do what's right by God and his word, people are going to put you through some stuff. It says you are blessed. Be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. 4 and 14. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, you're holding up the bloodstained banner, you're standing for Christ, you take up your cross and you follow him, and people all of a sudden are just going to just talk about you, cuss you out, whatever. You're reproached for the name of Christ. Happy are ye. You're blessed. For the spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. So we go through, but we endure, we're blessed. There's a promise, crown of life, that we'll receive. When we start to go through the stuff that people are putting us through just for the sake of standing on his word, not only are we blessed, but it says that the spirit is on our side because it rests on us. And so it's like, look, we have a whole lot going for us. And it's like wants to encourage us to keep on going, though it gets hard. And one thing we need to realize too is that when he's talking to people in the crowd, remember he said that there are going to be some false teachers that come in amongst us, wolves in sheep's clothing. The people that we think should be going through with us are going to be the ones putting us through.
Mm. Woo. Wow. Mm.
It's not just folk in the world that are going to be trying us. No, the enemy will use people who are supposed to be in the word. But remember, we learned last week, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, is going to make it in. He's going to say, I never knew you. They are there. Remember, their structure looks good, but their foundation, when stuff happens and things start to shift, they'll shift right along with it. Yeah, and we say, when stuff starts to go wrong, things get messy in church. You know how a whole lot of people just stop going.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you know what? No, you know what? Y'all can have it. I'm not going to deal with that. No, I'm out. Now, there are some wiggle room in that, but it gives an idea of people who, when wrong starts to come, they would much rather just be away from it than to go through some of it.
Right.
And sometimes it's just a matter of I'm going to stand with you because I know that you're righteous. But if I stand with you, then that means they're going to be turning against me too. And I don't want nobody turned against me. So rather than have somebody turn against me, I'm going to be way out the picture. You know what? Because I don't want to be talked about. I don't even want to know anything. So I'm gone. But you're probably on the phone and find it out. And so those are just some things to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to the people who built their houses on the sand, it's not about the structure, but it's about the foundation. Because there are a lot of people in the church who they look the part. They may be pastors, they may be preachers, evangelists, they may be in leadership positions, Sunday school teachers. They may wear the right clothing, they may know the right talk, but let something happen in their lives, and then see them just get real irritable in service and cranky. And I was talking about today how there are even some people when it comes to hearing the word and doing the word. They don't want to do all that the word says to do.
Right.
For example, if the word says that you are to forgive, I don't want to forgive that person right there because no, they were just wrong. So no, but you in the same congregation and you do not have forgiveness. Another thing it says James. James has a whole lot to say about things that we should be doing. And it's like, look, it says, don't speak evil of someone, don't grudge someone, but I'm still going to hold a grudge against you. I'm still going to think those crazy. That's what grudging means, just to think crazy thoughts. Speaking evil is to say crazy things. So I'm going to grudge and speak evil. The Bible says don't do it, but they're still going to do it. It says be slow to speak, but quick to listen, and slow to wrath. People flip that. Well, they're quick to speak because they're quick to be angry and slow to listen. But it's like the Bible says, and what happens, I believe, is people don't want to hear something that's going to correct what they are about. Guess what? You're not doing what the word says. You can't just come and pick and choose what you want to hear. And that's what a lot of people are doing. It's like, so when Paul says that a time will come, men will not endure sound doctrine because of their own lust. They will keep themselves teachers telling them what their itching ears want to hear. Because it's like, look, I want to hear about the good stuff, that I'm blessed, that I'm going to get a husband, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to get a car, I'm going to get a house, I'm going to get paid off. That's all I want to hear. I don't want to hear how I'm going to struggle.
Right. It's true.
So if you tell me that I'm going to be struggling, or if you tell me that I'm going to struggle now, but I might struggle for a while after that, I'm not trying to hear that.
Yeah, not only trying to hear it, I'm not trying to experience it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that. So if being with you or being in your camp of Christians, very merry band of Christians, is a struggling band of Christians, I'm out.
I'm going to find the happy people.
Yeah, I'm out.
But it doesn't mean that the word still doesn't say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, if you hear these words of mine and don't do them, you are like the foolish person who built his house on the sand. So when troubles come,
Mhm.
you can't hang with it. And that is a truth. Proverbs 10 and 25 says this. And then, I'm getting close to the wrap of this. Right there. It says, as the whirlwind passes, so is the wicked no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation.
Mm.
When the storms come, guess what? The wicked aren't going to do what the word says to do because it requires too much of them. Sacrifice, is I'm not trying to deny myself.
Right.
What do you mean deny myself? If anybody loves people in a family more than you, we're not worthy of you. I don't know about that, man. Why can't I have it both? And so it's like those hard sayings, but those hard sayings are in the word. Jesus knew that a lot of people that were going to be in the crowds were eventually going to stop following him.
Mm.
He knew that because he knew people can't hang.
Mhm.
It's like, this is hard. This life that you're going to live for my sake is hard. But remember when we learned about enter through the narrow gate, for straight is that way, and there are few who find it.
Right.
People want to take the easy path. They don't want to take the hard path. Can you make church easy? Can you make Christianity easy? Can it just be about what we do on Sunday instead of everything we got to do Monday through Friday or Saturday even? And even on Sunday, people are tripping. Matthew chapter 13. I said this before, that there are people in churches, and most people in most churches fit into these categories right here. You know the parable of the sower, right? The sower went out to sow seeds, and the seed fell on stony ground, rocky ground, amongst thorns, and the fertile soil. I'll say that most people fall into the area, not on stones of fertile, but those two ones in the middle. And 20 to 22 in chapter 13 in Matthew say this. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same as he that heareth the word and anon with joy receiveth it. It's like, I like what I'm hearing. That's what it means. In verse 21, yet hath he not root in himself, but endureth for a while. He can hang with it for a little bit. It's like the word, I'm with it, I'm going to try it, but then all of a sudden let stuff come up in his life. Endure for a while, for when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. So in other words, I'm going to live according to this word, and all of a sudden people start to ask you questions and start to bother you, and you can't hang. It's like, I'm going to leave that alone. That's exactly the person who built their house on the sand. You are in churches. You hear that word and you're going to try it, but you can't stick with it. But it says that the ones who endure are the ones who are blessed. You're not blessed just because you showed up. You're blessed because you endure. You hang with it because it's a promise that comes at the end of that. But you have to endure to the end to receive that promise, which is that crown of life, knowing that when you go through, the Spirit is on your side. I said, can you take the storm off? Every time he said, God told me my grace is sufficient for you, because when you are weak, that's when I am made strong. So sometimes we have to be weak in the midst of persecutions and trials and all the stuff we go through in life, so that God can be strong in our lives and we can see his glory and his salvation. Hang on in there. But moving on, verse 22 says this. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. So I say that most people in churches, just based on my experience and the people that I've seen, fall into those two categories. You got to be able to hang with this thing, because of being blessed is in your enduring business. Remember James 1:1, count it all joy when you go through various trials, because what's it doing is working on your patience. And so I tell a story about how every church has one of those older mothers who, when stuff is going on, I mean, it's getting real crazy. They're just there. They're just like, don't you see what's going on? And they can probably tell you, child, I done seen worse.
Right, they have.
It's going to come, but you just stay with the word. They'll tell you to stay with that word. How can you sit here when all this stuff the pastor's doing and all this? Just stay with the word, because I done seen it come, and and I'd have seen it go.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. That's what they'll tell you.
And those are the people, and James talked about, who is the wise one? It's not the
Mhm.
one who talks the most.
No. No.
The one coming,
Who is this person?
who's the one that's just sitting there quiet? And it's like, I know you know what's going on. So what's your take on this? You know what?
And it goes.
Yeah, that's that.
Mm-hmm.
And so to end this thing,
Mm-hmm.
in Matthew chapter 25, parable of the 10 virgins, hear the words, do the words. And it might be hard. Sermon on the Mount was about adjusting your entire way of living and functioning as a believer. That's the Sermon on the Mount. Sermon on the Mount was like Sermon on the Mount was not a you're doing okay sermon. Sermon on the Mount was saying you've been doing stuff wrong all this time because the people who are in charge of you taught you wrong. Now you got to make these changes. And then he said, if you hear these words of mine and do these words of mine, now just making that change is hard for some people. And so because I have to make a change, I'm not doing that. Guess what? You are foolish. You are on some sand right now. You think you're on a rock, but let trouble start to come.
Right.
Let somebody come in and start telling you the truth. Yeah, for real. Anyway, the 10 virgins. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps, and the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Verse 11. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord. Seem familiar? Lord, Lord, saying, Lord. Not everyone who comes to me saying, Lord, Lord, shall enter in. Lord, Lord, open up to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know ye not. What do you say in Matthew? He said, I never knew you. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter in. He will say, I never knew you. Even though they were with the other 5, they were all together in that crowd, watching and waiting. But we have the word, and so we know how the story ends. So because we know how the story ends, make the application in our lives, and then we know how our story will end as well. I know how it's going to end for me, but I have to endure. Anyway, keep it going. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know ye not. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. We have to watch. We have to endure, because he's on his way back. And he's going to come, and one verse says that those that endure to the end shall be saved. Tribulation, persecution, or just circumstances in life. For some people, just a simple circumstance in life is enough to have them just quit the whole thing.
Yeah, true.
And they wait until everything gets better in life to start coming through. But then I've seen when things get better in people's lives, they'll come through, but they don't stay in it. I got a husband, y'all. Woo, that's great. And then they'll be there for like 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden, we don't see where you're at.
Because I got a husband.
So where's he at?
Right. Well, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah. So that's that. That's it. We know how this thing ends. We got to the culmination of the Sermon on the Mount, and that's that one thing you got to remember. It's not that it's an easy thing, because Jesus told people basically almost everything you've been hearing has been wrong.
Wow. So let me ask you this: how many chapters has the Sermon on the Mount? How many chapters is the Sermon on the Mount? 3 chapters. So how many different sermons on the Sermon on the Mount? Have you done?
Well, I didn't start from the very beginning with the Beatitudes. I started with the part where he said, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not make it in. And so when I like this, if I were to do the Sermon on the Mount in its entirety, that will be about 30 weeks.
So the people who have heard this series have endured and learned about the Sermon on the Mount for 30 weeks.
Well, it hasn't been a full 30, it's been about 6 months. So, yeah, 6 months.
Wow.
We've been in the Sermon on the Mount, for 6 months. And so when we
Wow.
started these broadcasts, I believe we started the broadcast around the time I started the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think this is like our 34th or 35th broadcast. So yeah, so
Wow.
yep. So that's a whole lot of teaching to make sure that your life is right and straight according to the Word of God. And so if you do all the stuff that's there and everything else,
Mhm.
you are like a wise man who have your structure is great, that's good, but your foundation is what keeps it up.
Solid.
Because
Yeah.
stuff is gonna come and happen in your lives.
Wonderful.
It's like the stuff that happens in our lives.
Well,
Don't let it beat you down, sweetie.
well.
Because we're gonna pay off that debt.
we
That's right.
will. We'll update you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You sure will.
All right.
I'm about to go to work some more.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's good.
So that's it. So y'all, thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on in there.
Mm-hmm.
Stand on the word. After you've done all to stand.
Go listen to some Johnny Moore.
He sang, I thought Biggie wanted to sing that song.
He does too. Both of them.
Everybody sing the song except me.